Good morning. Welcome to the Sacred Feminine Intensive Week 2. I am Namaste. I am your facilitator and your guide, as well as your midwife of the soul, as we take this journey together. This week, we're going to begin to discuss something that is called security or safety. The reason why we're discussing this is in the idea of the basic needs of humanity. We come across this need for security and safety, and I think it has a huge impact on how we relate and how we go through the world as women, and therefore it has a huge impact on our Sacred Feminine Intensive. As we are stirring up, if you will, and embracing the Sacred Feminine Intensive, we also have to deal with those things which may inhibit our living in that space and our embodying of that space. And one of those things is our need for security. The need for security is not intrinsically wrong. It's not intrinsically bad. In fact, it's something that I would even call an ancestral memory. We needed, when we were living out in caves and on the plains and in the bush, our need for security was a huge driver. And as women specifically, our need for mates or partners, if you will, especially male partners who could grant us that physical security, because we would be fairly unable to protect ourselves in those types of environments, was very important. Okay, we would pick a mate based upon their perceived ability to give us security. And I think even now in our modern society, we are still doing the same thing. We are often still picking our mates based upon perceived security or their ability to provide us with safety. Okay, and we're going to talk about that from a couple of different areas. The first place I want to start with is talking about that from the perspective of our need for physical safety. Okay, so a lot of times we will make decisions based upon that, based upon our desire to be in a safe environment. And I'm not talking about necessarily rational decisions, such as, I don't want to live in the worst side of town, and I don't want to walk down the street in the ghetto in the middle of the night because that's just unsafe. That makes sense. That is a rational driver that we can justify that. We can make that very logical. And what I'm talking about is more so the safety-seeking behavior of avoidance or fight. Okay, when we perceive that to be threatened in some way. How many times have you seen or been in an experience where you meet someone or you're talking to someone and you perceive them to have something that you do not have or to be bigger than you in some way? It may not be a physical way, but you are now perceiving them. Something in your brain, in the lizard brain in the back of our psyche is saying danger, danger, danger. They're threatening our security. And so we have that response. We have a negative response to that person. A lot of times that is why you will come in contact with there being competition between women, because we're looking at another woman as a threat to our security. We're looking at another woman as a threat to our safety. Okay. Physically. Okay, so you're threatening my relationship. You're threatening my job. I work at this. I'm in this position, and now you're coming, and you might threaten my physical position. Another way this can reflect is in how we are making decisions as far as our financial or fiscal safety. When we perceive, I'm trying to be as safe as possible, and so we get into this kind of habit, this role thing where we are constantly making decisions that are fear-based. And that is the problem when we are dealing with issues of safety and security, is that frequently our responses and our actions are based in fear. The downside of that being based in fear is that fear replicates itself. Most people have heard of the saying, fear is false evidence appearing real. That's true. When we are fearful about something, we tend to create environments that breed more fear. It becomes this kind of cycle where we're constantly afraid, and nothing can address or help us overcome that fear. Okay, we don't live in the middle of a jungle somewhere or on a plain somewhere. We don't tend to be tribal people in that way anymore, and so we don't have to have that fear of safety or for our safety or of our security. When that manifests itself in our relationships, which is the predominant way that you see it manifest today, it becomes where the need for safety or the need to feel safe becomes more important than the people that we are actually in relationship with. Okay, so you can see a woman who, for instance, her husband decides that he wants to go out and pursue a new career, and he feels like he must do this because this is his passion, this is his bliss, and she just cannot support him in that because where he is now provides her with what? Financial safety, financial security, and she cannot allow that to be threatened by him pursuing something else. And so she will berate him or talk down to him or undermine him in many ways in his masculinity because of her need for safety and security. So that desire or that need can actually become more important than the people that we are in relationship with. We have a friend and she gets a new friend that she's close to, and now that feels like a threat to our security and our safety in the relationship, and we don't like her. We don't even know why we don't like her. We just don't like you. And so those things can actually impact higher level things like our relationships because we need that security and that safety so much. So what do we do about that? Once we know that that's what's going on, interestingly enough, a lot of times just knowing that that's what we're doing, just being aware of it, like, you know what? Yeah, why am I feeling like this? Why am I doing these things? I'm feeling unsafe right now. I'm feeling like, oh, something's threatening my security. Why am I fighting? Why am I feeling antagonistic and I'm making little snipey comments? Because as women, we don't tend to respond to things as men do. We may not be as direct. Some of us are, but oftentimes we're not direct. We're very snipey, very vindictive, and we'll say things that are just very, just little cutting comments. We're known for that. And so, why am I responding to that in that way? Why am I saying things that are hurtful, even if I'm saying them with a smile on my face? Why do I feel the need to compete with that woman? Why do I feel the need to attack my mate? What is drawing that and bringing that up? Did they really do something, or is it a perceived area of fear because I feel like my safety is being negatively or potentially negatively impacted? And we respond to that. We respond to things like that. Any threat against our home environment, even though we're not on the plains, any perceived threat against our home environment will cause us to respond negatively. Anything that we feel like is threatening us financially or physically or emotionally, are threats to our security and our safety. So, and the other way we can respond, if it's not outright antagonistic, is in flight. Which is, oh my goodness, this, you're making me feel unsafe. I'm leaving. And I'm not talking about a physical situation. I'm not talking about abusive relationships, because in abusive relationships, I am not fond of saying, you can counsel your way out of that, or you can discuss your way out of it, or you can conflict resolution your way out of it. I really believe that in abusive relationships, the best thing to do is to get out of the relationship. So I'm not speaking about abusive relationships. I'm talking about relationships in which just for whatever reason, you feel a threat, okay, to your security or your safety. And not only in relationships, a lot of times that driver for safety and security will make us and cause us to make decisions that are not for our highest and best. We will stay in a job that is a dead-end job and is not fulfilling to us and doesn't fulfill our passion and doesn't honor our bliss and honor our own magnificence. We will stay in that position because why? I feel safe. It gives me some measure of safety. We will not do the things that we feel our heart calling us to do, not learn to paint or play an instrument or step outside of our comfort zone in some way, follow some kind of artistic desire or travel to other places. Why? I don't know that I can be secure there. I don't know that I'm safe there. Ooh, that's something different. So knowing that a lot of our fear-based limitations, our limiting beliefs are based in fear. And that fear is often based in the desire for safety and security. gives us a place to start to address those things. So instead of us saying, you, it's everything out there that is causing me to make these kind of decisions and that is causing me to be very reactive. Because we are sacred, feminine women, because we embody the power of the sacred feminine, we also have to own with that empowerment comes self-responsibility and personal responsibility. With that empowerment means that we ought not to make our decisions from a fear-based and a reactive-based place, but we have to empower ourselves and take personal responsibility to make our decisions from a place that is an empowered place. I can do the things that I desire to do. And yes, I love my partner, and even though they are making decisions that may make things a little shaky for a while, or we may be on territory that we've never gone into before, that is not necessarily a threat to my security. Okay, so this goes back to the whole root chakra, if you think about it, and understanding that the world is a safe place for us, and understanding that we are welcome everywhere as women. And feeling that and cultivating that idea that I have chosen to be in this space at this time and I am safe here. So we are blending now. That root chakra issue comes into play huge. And if you've already worked through that, which you should have if you're watching this video, hopefully you've worked through that root chakra to a point where it's nice and unblocked. It'll become a lot easier for you to see the ways that this issue with safety and security are manifesting in your life. It's such a common issue for us as women. I'm not going to go back to school because, I'm scared. I don't feel like I can be really secure there. Or I'm going to school and I'm taking classes that I don't like for a career that I don't want, because that career will provide me with the safety that I'm seeking. I'm staying in this relationship because I feel safe here, even though it's not meeting my need. We don't have the same worldview. We don't have the same desires. We're not looking at things from the same perspective. We don't want to go in the same direction. That is not a vision that I support, but I'm staying in the relationship because it's safe. Or I'm running from a relationship because, I just can't be with him. Well, why? Well, I just, yeah. He's not doing the things, or she's not doing the things that would make me feel safe. But we have to understand that need, that safety comes from here. Okay? And that if we surrender to the things that we have no control over, people often talk about the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Well, a lot of times we fall short in one of those areas. And for many of us, it's the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, to surrender to the things that we cannot change. Meaning that if we're always trying to make the most secure, we're trying to make our lives into basically Fort Knox. Yes, nothing can get in, but guess what? Nothing can get out either. There's not a lot. I don't picture that there's a lot of trees and living and green things growing in Fort Knox, So if we create our lives into this, such security being our hugest issue, if you look at those most secure states, they don't allow much room for growth or being organic or flowing, which is the nature of the feminine, which is creative. So when we are seeking after doing that safety and security seeking behaviors, frequently we begin to get further and further and further away from the sacred feminine, because her nature, the nature of that is in you. And when you tap into that and you really kind of feel that, you let that sacred feminine energy speak to you and talk to you and commune with you, what you'll notice is that part of you is not as concerned with the safety and the security. She is more concerned with creativity, with growth, with transformation. Okay, and so for many of us, we have this place in our head where we're kind of like, I need safety, I need security. No, I need to grow, I need to be free, I need to flow. And so there's this, which one? Don't be afraid. And don't be harsh with yourself. Recognize that as a legitimate driver. It is something that's very ancient inside of us, that desire for that. And begin to dissect it when it comes up. You know, is this a situation that I can do anything about? Is this a situation where my life and limb is really threatened? You know, I often will play the game where I say, okay, and if that happens, then what? You know, so it's like, oh, I don't want to move because, you know, I don't want to do this. I don't want my husband to take this job. If he takes this job, then what? Then we might have to move. And then you get one more. And if that happens, then what? Then I'm someplace new. Okay. Is that so horrible? Is that so, well, does the world come to an end? Do I cease to exist? Is this something that cannot be overcome? Okay. Oh, I don't want to have to change careers. I don't want to do this. Well, because if I do that, what will happen? You know, oh, then I'll be in a situation where, you know, it's just new. It's different. What if I don't do well? Okay. What if you don't do well? Well, what if I'm not good at it? Okay. What if you're not good at it? Guess what? Any decision, any choice that you make, you can always choose again. If it doesn't work, if you're not happy with the results, it's not uncommon. You can have more than one career in your lifetime. Okay, so I'm talking to someone out there right now. You know, you are worried about your career. You're worried about taking a different path, and something else is calling to you, but you are not moving into that because but what if? What if I move someplace different and I don't like it? Guess what? I can move back. If I try a career and I find out, I don't like it, guess what? You can try a different one. Okay, so don't allow fear, which is based in that desire for security and safety, to keep you from pursuing your desires, your dreams, your bliss, your purpose. Don't allow that to keep you from living life with passion and with presence, because that is what the sacred feminine is all about. Namaste.